Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is Professor Mike Dillon. Professor Mike
Bonjour,
Dillon. Professor Mike Dillon.
bonjour. Hoffmeyer, never even met her.
Boudreaux. You don't want to hurt my feelings. I love that just Arnold Vosloo says names three times in this movie. He pops. Even in 93, I'm like, I like this guy. This guy's good. And yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
he certainly had a good run in the 90s. I kind of wonder how he would have fared as a character actor if he wasn't stuck playing villains all the time. But I mean, it's just that accent. You know, if you're an Afrikaner in the 80s or 90s cinema, you're gonna be a villain, right?
yeah. Australian, Afrikaner, like you, yeah.
Well, yeah, diplomatic immunity, you know.
Hard target. We're doing it. This is a snake punching, Wilford Brimley tooting, murderous,
No,
mean.
it's arguably the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, it might not be, but it's up there. You
it,
know what? Let me amend that. Of all the movies you and I have covered together, I think this is the most movie of anything we've talked about, right? It's wall to wall technique and movement and editing choices. There's a lot of movie packed into this.
that's what happens when you get John Woo and Sam Raimi as a producer and JCVD and a crazy score and a script written by an actual Marine that was changed a lot. This is, you know, what's interesting. I was reading John Woo interviews and I was thinking about how, in 93, when I watched this movie, I was kind of taken aback a little bit by how violent it is. The guy gets his ear cut off.
Hmm.
The two veterans are slaughtered. It's a grimy, sweaty, violent movie with some pretty gnarly dialogue, like point your titties north and drive that way. You're like, what? So it what a line, by the way. But I was reading John Woo interviews, and he said that his movies he said that his movies are really angry. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And when he was making like Hard Boiled and other films, he said, I had so much anger about society. Rich people were getting richer, poor people were getting poorer. The criminals were nearly untouchable, and good people never got true justice. He's like, the studio still let me make movies, the real movies I wanted to make. So I thought that was like when he was making his early films, like Hard Boiled was based on he read something about in Japan how babies were getting murdered in supermarkets. So he created a Dirty Harry story about a psychopath who was trying to murder babies. And Tony Leung was supposed to be the psychopath, but they changed it and then became hard boiled, where they saved
Hard baby.
babies, hard babies, where they saved babies. And so I kind of like that. He has some anger to his movies, but then also you watch Face Off, you watch Mission Impossible. They have like melodrama in them, but they also have good action scenes. There's a sense of humor to them, and I think he knows how to make his actors look good. Like I think he really showed. He had a camera in this film directly dedicated to making JCVD's muscles look good. So it's this odd combination of wild action, wild. Like I wish this score followed me around wherever I walked. Violence, piano playing. It's so much movie, and it's only in
Yeah.
97 minutes. This is not a long film, but it's a lot of movie. And I just went on a
Yeah.
massive thing, but I had to drop that on you, Professor Mike
No,
Dillon.
I mean that's really key, right? Like I don't know that when you say anger is the register to get into this, like I take that to mean not sort of anger and frustration and aggression, but more sort of heightened emotions, right? Anger being kind of a guiding emotion for kind of understanding your role in the world and what all the film techniques and like in this film, all the slow-mo and the crossfades it just all converts and churns the movie story beats into, like you say, this stuff of high melodrama, like high stakes melodrama. I mean, yeah, these are ostensibly brainless explosion movies, but the what John Woo brings and has always done is like there's an attempt to turn them aesthetically into a sort of ballet
Yes.
that ends up steeping the films into like lofty themes of like men searching for meaning and the bonding between, I mean, like primarily between men, right? There's no chemistry between Van Damme and the Yancy Butler. Like I can see him taking Arnold Vosloo home before he takes her home in this movie, right?
Well, you have Lance
Because they,
Henriksen and Vosloo in this. Like they're
yeah,
they're ride or die, like they're
yeah. So I mean, of course, this is what he was doing in Hong Kong, and it is a sensibility that runs through, Broken Arrow and Face Off, but sort of using the heightened stylistic language of cinema to turn action films essentially into soap operas. That's the John Woo signature, if I was pressed to define it.
I completely agree. And there's a quote by him where he says in an interview, life is beautiful as long as you have real friends. So I think that is a through line for his films. And
Yeah,
even,
friendship,
and you know what's interesting too, even if it's
brotherhood.
not
Yeah.
friendship, you have Broken Arrow, they were friends and then they split because Travolta went evil and just started chain smoking cigarettes. You have Face Off, where two mortal enemies are placed in each other's shoes. Like, he always finds an interesting sort of dynamic of friendship, I guess, in his films, and or enemies battling each other, but there's that hatred there, there's that love there. I love it though. I love that. You know, you watch a JCVD movie prior to this. I think he's perfect for a John Woo aesthetic because he was one of them. We talked about this before, but he's one of the more like gentle spirits of the time. Like Stallone wasn't gentle, Arnold wasn't gentle. I think JCVD showcased a sensitive side that worked well with John Woo. Even though he tried to recut this movie, and then Sam Raimi had a big interview with the studio, and I guess John Woo said he yelled at JCVD and said this is a John Woo movie and nobody's touching it, which makes me love Sam Raimi more. But yeah, no, I think the two work together. JCVD actually flew out to see John Woo and talk to him, and they tried, and they flew out to Hong Kong to meet him to get him on it. JCVD had a big part of this, and I think John Woo wanted to make him look good, which made JCVD happy. And the result is just a gnarly movie, which is, like you said, a lot of movie.
Yeah. So just to go back a couple minutes to something you said, it dawned on me when you were talking about, these themes of like men bonding and things like that. I just looked it up, but the motion picture soundtrack to Broken Arrow, which is by Hans Zimmer, that bass riff, if you know it,
Dun, dun,
that's
dun,
the
dun,
yeah, yeah,
dun,
yeah.
dun.
That
Scream.
that riff, it's
Mhm.
called Brothers
Oh, hey.
on the track listing on the soundtrack. Yeah, so clearly these are things he cares about. In a weird way, in terms of what was John Woo going for here, because this is his first Hollywood film, right? He's got this reputation as an action auteur out of Hong Kong, but this is his first foray into Hollywood filmmaking, and JCVD is the star that he is. I'm struggling with this a little bit because it's Hard Target is arguably Van Damme's best film. That's my opinion. I mean, that's largely because of John Woo's command of the genre, but at the same time, it's not the most representative of what I tend to associate with Van Damme and what makes him iconic. So, like pretty pivotally, there's no splits in this movie.
Only spin kicks.
He does spin kicks, but you don't get the splits, and there's no butt shot, right? We normally at least see him in shorts or something, but he's in jeans the whole time here. I mean, he looks great, but I feel like the gratuitous butt shot is such a staple of how he's presented to audiences as an object to be admired in Hollywood movies that I do wonder if John Woo just didn't quite get that because he's not an American filmmaker. And these are just things we take for granted in Hollywood that he's just not quite attuned to. I'm not sure, but I do want, like, these are kind of the areas in which I wonder whether John Woo, how plugged in is he to the Hollywood aesthetic, or is he just kind of making an American screenplay in his style, right? How much kind of feedback did he get from producers, and how much flexibility did he have to push back against those kind of pressures, or agree to them? Like, there is a behind the scenes documentary of just John Woo doing a first Hollywood movie that I'd be very curious to get some questions answered, but I don't know.
The good news is he had Sam Raimi supporting him. Apparently, so Lance Henriksen talking about this movie said that he's the only director that he would sit and just watch him direct. And he said that him and John Woo became great friends. And like he said, he would do anything for him and they would just sit there and smoke cigarettes together when the shoot was going long. And they said JCVD was on his phone a lot. So they were just smoking cigarettes on set. Yancy
On
Butler
his
said,
phone a lot?
yeah,
What does
because
that mean?
JC, he was setting up his next movies. He was always on the phone. So he
Right. Well,
was
just
just like,
just so people understand, like the immediate image that comes to mind of JCVD on his phone is just like on a smartphone playing Candy Crush.
yeah,
And
no, no.
and this is 93, right? So that means he was on a hard line, probably in his trailer, just talking to people with the receiver to his ear.
Yakking away, setting up phone deals. So they were always waiting. So he said, yeah, he said that they were always waiting. And so they were always waiting for him to do that. And Yancy Butler loved him. You know, Sam Raimi stuck up for him. You know, he pushed hard for this. They flew to him to get it made. You know, producer Terrence Chang, who's had a great relationship, he got him Hard Target. He said they flew out there to talk to them. So, you know, I don't think he had to soften himself a lot. You see some directors coming over here and really having to soften their work, but the slow motion, the dubs, the balletic fights. I mean, the final fight, I lost count of how many times JCVD flips in the air. Like I think John Woo just loved his movements. And it's I mean, there's even a shot where JCVD pulls his duster back and shows his leg, not a gun, because his leg is his weapon. And I
Hmm.
love that so much. So I think he had difficulties because of the English barrier, but he also said he and JCVD bonded because English was their second language. And so they kind of bonded over that. So I think as far as first times go, he prefers the director's cut much more. There's a much longer director's cut out there. But he said the cut that made theaters was cut by the studio, though it was a studio cut. So I think a lot of his melodrama was cut out, but there's still enough John Woo. Like if you put this movie on and you had watched every other John Woo movie and you didn't know he directed it, you would either think they're ripping off John Woo or John Woo
Hmm.
directed it. If that makes sense.
That's kind of what I mean, because on the one hand, if you're a producer doing a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie and you've sort of you brought in this famed Hong Kong action director, you're gonna want him to deliver on the action more than anything else. And this movie doesn't skimp in that regard whatsoever.
Yeah.
But also the way in which he's delivering it, it's I don't use this term lightly, but there's something really avant-garde about the stylistic choices that pervade. It's not just like, oh, that was a really weird sequence in an otherwise pretty sober movie. It's like, no, this is wall to wall John wooing the whole time. And I'm curious about not I don't know if there were negotiations, but the sort of, receiving the dailies and realizing like, oh wow, yeah, he is delivering the crazy Jean-Claude Van Damme kicks that we were hoping for, but he's doing it in a way that is a little bit bananas. And I wonder how much resistance there was to that, or was it kind of a compromise? Like, well, as long as you're delivering the explosions, we don't mind that you shoot it a certain way. And in terms of the themes, the melodrama themes, it does bother me that they never kiss
Hmm.
at any point. My understanding is that there was more kind of romantic dynamics in a longer cut, but that's the stuff that got pared down, pared down, pared down. Okay, fine. But I'm interested to hear because I didn't know that the script is written by a Marine veteran because there is a real attempt here at commentary about the struggles that veterans go through.
Yeah.
The second half of the movie really just insists on action, but the first
It's
half plays a
all
lot of
action.
yeah. The first half plays a lot of lip service to the plight of the homeless veterans out there, in particular, and when what's his face gets gunned down in the street because no one will stop and help him.
Oh gosh.
It's something kind of heartbreaking about that, right? Um,
Elijah Roper when and Willie C. Carpenter's
yeah,
great in that role at the end when he just accepts it. And they kill a bunch of people in the street during that scene too.
Yeah, well, they allude to an ongoing police strike, which, right? It
Oh.
only, I mean, it only tangentially figures into the story because, but it does maybe explain why there's so little police presence in a city where rich people are shooting off machine guns in crowded streets with no discretion. But yeah, the idea that villains are looking for veterans to hunt down, partly because they have combat training and they make for a more interesting game, but also because they know that veterans who are struggling and can't acclimate themselves to life after their service are so expendable and exploitable. Like there's some really rich social commentary in there. And I always get curious about the extent to which John Woo thinks about these things because the last thing I saw with him was Silent Night with Joel Kinnaman,
Hmm.
which it takes some interesting directions and as an action film and the action choreo we could have a debate about. But overall, I found that film to be incredibly racist and ugly. It's about like a white vengeance against these sort of Mexican cartel characters who are all like the most evil, vicious, child murdering, face tattoo having groups. And so this is so reactionary and so icky in the era of Trump and ICE and all the rest of it. And I have a real problem with that. But then I had to pull myself back and say, well, how much is 80 something year old John Woo plugged into the sort of racial politics of the United States? So
Hmm.
my complaints probably are not placed with John Woo the director, but more so with the white American screenwriter who came up with this sort of like revenge fantasy against brown people. You know what I mean? And so I do wonder, John Woo is there to kind of direct action to the best of his ability, but I mean, is he someone who thinks that carefully about like what are the thematic implications of the story I'm telling in the cultural context I'm working in, but I'm not from and don't currently reside in? That to me is a really interesting question. Who do you attribute these thematics to? And so to have a screenwriter who is ostensibly interested in or
He's in the
You know.
beginning of the movie. That's him. The screenwriter is the guy who gets killed, Yancy Butler's dad.
Oh, the dad? Oh,
Yeah.
didn't know that. So yeah, my only point, I don't really have a point other than to note that I find really interesting, and I guess I could apply this to any sort of foreign filmmaker. Is like, okay, well, you've got a film that is certainly not equal parts action and social commentary, but like, were you there to deliver the action? And if I was to have a conversation with John Woo and I started to ask him about the themes of this movie and what were you trying to say and how do you feel about the plight of homeless veterans? Like, I wonder what kind of answer I would get and how thoughtful it would be, just because I wonder, like, do you view yourself as someone who's hired to tell that story, or are you someone who was hired to deliver an action movie?
I know.
They seem to be kind of no, I'm not in any way suggesting that they're mutually exclusive endeavors, but I do wonder whether he views them as sort of like this is the story I'm telling, or to what extent he's less concerned about that.
Well, I know when he made, let's see, he made when he wanted to get into cinema, not Last Rush for Chivalry, but with Killer and Hard Boiled, he said that gangs were taking over in Hong Kong and violence was everywhere, and so he wanted to make a Dirty Harry type movie where Dirty Harry just blew all these people. His Dirty Harry blew all these
Yeah.
people away. But he also said the killer didn't really have a script, and neither did Hard Boiled. He just kind of went with feelings when he was doing it. So I think when they approached him, he he thought about social issues. So I guess when he read the script, he went, "Oh, okay, this is interesting. Rich people are killing poor veterans. Like I feel this way about rich versus poor, so I'm going to take it." But then I think when you're over there, you have one of the biggest stars on the planet, and JCVD did a lot of rewrites. He was always calling the writer, apparently, according to John Woo. And then you have his style, which is very melodramatic and different. And then you have the script. I think it all got put into a blender. So I think for his first American film, he wanted to tackle something that he knew he had JCVD and he knew he could make him look good. And then he knew he had a script that he was intrigued by because he was thinking about the social justice of it all. So even if he didn't understand the complexities of American, um, you know, race and soldiers and our society, I think he liked the idea. But then everything got thrown into a blender in the final hours, just an action
Yeah,
scene.
it gets really complicated for me when you talk about something like Silent Night, for instance, just because it draws on more contemporaneous politics. But this idea of, if John Woo is coming from this reactionary place in which, like, I hear stories about how Mexican gang members are coming into America and shooting up neighborhoods, and little kids sometimes get killed in the crossfire. It's like, well, yeah, that's gonna make you angry, and you're going to what you're going to see some appeal in a story about angry fathers whose kids have been gunned down, taking revenge into their own hands because the police won't do anything. Okay, I can see the kind of Death Wish style appeal, but what is missing from that conversation, and I wonder the extent to which someone like John Woo can be forgiven for not fully understanding because he doesn't live here, is yes, that stuff happens and it's tragic, and we all want justice, but this notion that cartel members are gunning down American citizens is also a very ugly right-wing myth that is not in any way reflective of actual crime statistics. It's terrible when it happens, but it's the it's the occasional tragedy that gets blown out of proportion in order to justify really racist policies in the country, right? And so, to what extent do you want to be putting out a film text that essentially plugs right into right-wing racism and propaganda? Silent Night, I can see kind of playing it like an ICE recruitment rally in some ways. And I'm not knocking John Woo for that necessarily, but I'm a little confused as to the extent to which he is plugged into some of these things. So making films that are about social justice is one thing, but sort of like how are you going about that, and justice for whom, and what kind of straw man arguments are you setting up in order to claim the need for justice here, justice there? I don't know the extent to which he is aware of the discourse around these things when he gets hired to make American films. And so, that's just, it's not a criticism so much as an area of interest for me in terms of what ends up happening when you're hired to make films for a different cultural context that you may not fully understand the nuances of. Like, I think that's kind of interesting and very complicated.
If Silent Night featured Kinnaman killing the gang members from The Crow, led by Michael Wincott, it would be a much better movie. Because then it gets rid
Maybe.
of all of that. I don't know. Because then you just have a gang, like an evil gang.
Maybe, but the conceit of Silent Night is that he's mute, right? And there's
Yeah.
no There's no dialogue through the whole thing. And so if you have Michael Wincott, you're going to want some banter because
Yeah, that's true.
Michael Wincott is all about that voice, right?
Yeah, you need the banter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. He's
I was on the pod with Out Now, Aaron and Abe, and I guess we were discussing The Crow, and I said Michael Wincott sounds like an evil cigar, is I think the line I used.
I did an episode about Metro with Eddie Murphy.
Uh-huh.
Wincott's
Yeah.
scary in that movie. Like he's good. I actually like Metro a lot. But yeah, back to Hard Target. It's I do you think it's such a cult classic though because there's snake punching, there's Wilford Brimley. John Woo was afraid to give him directions because he just seemed like the coolest guy ever. He said when Brimley was amazing, but just
He's great in it. I
yeah.
was wondering whether because he's so Cajun, right? That I was wondering if that character would pronounce this movie like Hatage.
Hatachi, I made
Chance
myself good whiskey
Hatage.
make Jackrabbit slap the bear. Like, no, get ate it.
Diabetes.
I feel
What
like
does he say? Don't spill. It'll kill the grass.
I feel like New Orleans natives, I think they voted this as one of the worst New Orleans accents ever. And I think it's like New
Huh.
Orleans accents, Southern accents, and maybe Irish accents. I just, I think those are three that get butchered a lot,
Well,
especially Southern accents.
I assume you did the research on how much of this was shot in New Orleans
Yeah, no,
because the locations are fantastic.
oh, you feel the
I mean,
sweat.
yeah, I mean, I've been to New Orleans, and I'll say the streets are far too empty in this movie
Yeah,
for most of
yeah,
it.
they are.
But you do get a strong sense of location and atmosphere, and the sort of Mardi Gras graveyard location, which
Oh,
is the final set piece, is tons of fun.
that's where they actually stored the float stuff for the New Orleans.
Yeah.
The floats, the cemetery was really good production value. They shot a lot of it in New Orleans. They did some in Alabama and then other parts in other like greater Louisiana areas. But you know what? One thing, this is going to sound dumb, but what I miss about certain films is how on location they feel. This one, you kind of feel the New Orleans heat when he's on the docks and when he's walking around and they're just driving around in her dirty car, going to different places. Like you feel the sort of sweat of New Orleans, and I like that. I'm telling you, this movie was a lot grimier than I expected in '93. Maybe it's because I was used to JCVD movies were typically, someone dies, he enters a tournament, his brother gets hurt, he trains and he wins. Bloodsport, he enters a tournament. Universal Soldier, he's has to battle Dolph Lundgren, Lionheart, all the like another tournament. Quest wasn't out yet, but that's another tournament. It's like this one, I think he plays more of a character in this, more of a loner, less sensitive. He's already tough. Like I feel like in Bloodsport we watch him get tough. Kickboxer we watch him get tough. Universal Soldier he's a robot who can fight. It's like this one's he's already like a fully formed guy in this one, and I guess I wasn't used to that while watching JCVD, and it I don't know. But then yeah, just when that guy gets tortured with his ear and they call him like sit
Well,
down you fat fuck like that's
they
a grind, and then that lady gets killed, the lady with the cake Cassie
yeah,
Clemens, the detective Marie Mitchell gets murdered.
yeah.
Like, it's a violent flick.
It's I mean, thinking about The Crow, the comparison to this movie would be completely superficial, but what both movies have in common is that they're packed with great character performances,
Yes.
right? And if their accents are all over the place, then I can certainly empathize with someone being irritated by that. But I think it's really to the film's detriment that the two least interesting performances, and this is because the characters themselves have to be played more or less straight, happen to also just be the only two female characters in the whole thing. That so the Casey Lemons and Yancy Butler's characters are the least flamboyant, and that's a real bummer because Henriksen is great, Vosloo is great, and like I said, the actor who plays the black veteran who gets hunted
Elijah
midway,
Roper.
he has a lot of pathos. But the actor who plays I guess he's a pimp, but the fat guy, the one you're mentioning who gets his ear cut off, he suffers so much in this movie.
Yes, he does.
Every scene he's in consists of him getting insulted to his face or flat out abused, right? The moment you alluded to is a wakey wakey, you fat fuck. And like another Crow illusion here, but he's like if the John Polito character in The Crow had a cousin, down in the bayou. Um,
Yeah,
you catch that?
they're brothers for sure,
Yeah.
cousins. Yeah.
At one point, he's getting a massage. I don't know if you caught this. He's getting a
Oh
massage at a
yeah.
parlor, and the billboard outside is advertising, and I quote, Kiki and her Wonder Feet.
I didn't see that.
That's the stuff of just like atmosphere,
Yeah.
character. There's an ooziness to it, you know. It's sweaty, it's gross, it's grimy. Like that stuff really works for me.
It's weird watching Yancy Butler like glory lit and like wearing school like teacher dresses. She's very plain clothed in this, and
Hmm.
she's very like angelic and innocent. But then you watch Drop Zone, and she's awesome. Like she's
Was it drop? I couldn't remember if it was drop
oh
zone or
man,
terminal
she's a
velocity. It's drop
spark
zone,
plug
right?
in that movie. Like Wesley Snipes at one point just knocks her out. Like he just she like they set him up to fail with his skydiving and he's flying in the air and then he gets so mad he just knocks her out and you're like, what just happened? But she's larger than life in that. And it always catches me off guard when Yancy Butler, who I know is just so full of life, is just kind of like a fourth grade, an idealized fourth grade teacher from maybe 1930 Alabama. I don't know. Just real simple. So yeah, it always throws me off when that. But also too, like when Yancy Butler goes, "You drive," he's like, "Well, I don't have a license." So that was a good subversion of the tropes where you know, and like Sylvester Stallone who goes to drive and learns he can't. So Stallone's like, I can't. Or
I had the exact same
ACVD.
thought from Demolition Man. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of a mirror moment where is wait, was there something going on in the early in 1993 specifically when if you need a shortcut to like just emasculating a guy, tell him he can't drive? Is that the one sort of shortcut, screenwriter shortcut to knocking him down a peg? And I don't know.
that's why I love Speed so much because
Oh, great
because
point. Yeah.
Sandra Bullock just drove. He was like, I can't drive the bus. And she's like, I'll do it. Like, or he shot her. Like, she just is a beast bus. They never even talk about it. She's just awesome driving the bus. You know, as a 12-year-old, Hollywood movies were they weren't the best learning tools for children. And so watching her be cool and drive a bus,
As opposed to now.
yeah, exactly. But when you're just watching these movies and you just I remember feeling blown away by Sandra Bullock driving that bus in Speed because there was no like she wasn't sexified, she was cool, and she was driving the bus. Like it was one of the most casual, kind of neat moments I've seen in a long time. I don't know why I digressed on that, but I'm always impressed by Speed because I like that she drives and it makes me happy. So yeah. So what are your favorite moments in this? Do you like, why they name you Nat? Like a bug. And then like, why they name you Chance? Because my mama took a chance on me. Like,
Yeah.
what are your favorite moments that like you know, you're out jogging, Professor Mike Dillon. You just stop and smile because you think of a hard target moment. What would that be?
I have so many. Well, I mean, so I've got favorite moments big and small. So if I started big and obvious, like and I know I'm being kind of affectionately sarcastic when I say this is the greatest movie of all time, but it does genuinely have one of the greatest stunts of this phase of 90s action cinema, which is when he's on the motorcycle and leaps
Yeah.
over. Yeah. I mean, narratively, it's preposterous, capital P preposterous, but as a stunt that some guy actually performed, that astonishing.
And he
Like
goes over
it's a
that car
terrific stunt.
too. Like that guy
Yeah,
goes over that car.
someone
And
actually did that, and
it
it's shout out to whoever that stunt person is, like truly. But I love this sort of signature gun that Lance Henriksen has, this like
yeah.
one bullet at a time. I don't know enough about firearms to know like make and model, but that's kind of iconic to me. I love the arrow cams.
Yes.
Uh
Yes. That's very Sam Raimi almost. Like I feel
yeah,
him a
yeah,
little
come to
bit.
think of it.
I feel him a little bit in there.
I love upon this watch anyway, the line delivery that I really enjoyed is from Henriksen when he tells her he's holding her hostage and he says, "Load me."
Yeah. And she drops it.
It's like, well, I know you're a cold-blooded killer with like no moral compass, but sexual harassment as well. Tisk tisk, you know. I think the Van Damme of it is great, but the character work from Vosloo and Lance Henriksen, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Like when we see Lance Henriksen, I guess lives on a former plantation and he's playing Chopin on the piano or whatever it
For
is.
minutes.
It's so funny.
People come over
It's
and just have to
so
sit
funny.
there while he plays.
It's so good. And I love the moment when Lance Henriksen's coat catches fire.
Oh man,
That's a genuine stunt. I mean, you can see
he has the gel.
he's got the gel in his hair, and that pulls you out a little bit. But it's a great stunt. You know, there's a lot of stuff that just feels really practical. Sorry,
Yeah.
there's a lot of. Let me start over there.
Oh wait, give it a few
Uh,
seconds so I can find it in the edit.
there's a number of stunts that just feel really close to the actors and really dangerous. And I know it's all. I presume it's all safe and it's all trickery, but there's real impact, right? For the explosions and the wire gags and when Wilford Brimley's shack gets blown up, you know, they blow it up for real, but then Arnold Vosloo and Lance Henriksen are in the
Right there.
foreground.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
right there. Now, obviously they're far enough away, there's no danger here, but you know, to have your actors in the shot of a presumably very expensive and therefore unrepeatable explosion set piece, that stuff, I love that stuff because
You
you know there's no green screen going on.
you feel the force on them too. You see the wind blowing. And Henriksen, I don't think he's performing in that scene. He kind of bends forward and he's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a great moment. Oh my gosh. And yeah, that's a really excellent practical effect right there. And I love the first fight scene at the diner. I think they handle that really well. There's this scene where this guy goes to throw a spin kick on him, but JCVD goes and takes out his leg. And the fall the guy takes is really brutal. And just, I love when he kicks the guy in the car, he throws him through the incredibly cheap glass of that place, great breakaway glass. But it's an inspired fight scene with, I don't know, I love that the guy throws a kick and he chance knows to just take his leg out. It's well executed. I think they worked with Van Damme well, and Billy Burton, the guy who did the stunt coordinating on it, as Billy Burton, he did a great job. So I think this is one of those movies where it survives nowadays. It got a 4K release from Kino. They were cool to send it to me for a review, which is nice. And I think it has personality. It has great action, and it has like a deep bench of supporting actors that keep it relevant. And the Scott Adkins sequel, that's not very good with him and Mona
Yeah,
Mitchell.
it's not very
No,
good.
but gotta watch my guy Scott Adkins.
Yeah, you know, no, Scott Adkins is God's perfect meathead. That's certainly true, and I'll never pass. You'll never hear me say a bad word about Scott Adkins. But Hard Target 2 is. They do a nice callback though. The villain in Hard Target 2 is kind of hammy and fun, but they do a callback because his signature weapon is like the same gun that Lance Henriksen
Oh,
has.
Robert
If I
Nepper.
recall, if I recall. Have you seen Surviving the Game with Ice-T?
Oh, of course, Ernest
I think
Dickinson. Yeah,
that's like around this time as well, right? There's something in the air with the sort of Most Dangerous Game adaptations, but
that cast. Talk about a stat cast. You have Ice T, but
that's
then
like
you have
Rutger
Rucker Hauer,
Hauer. Yeah.
Charles S. Dutton, Gary Busey, F. Murray Abraham, John C. McGinley. Like that's a deep bench. And Gary Busey has that monologue about the dog. Like it's a good, that's a fun movie right there. Good cast. And also Ice T's homeless. But movies run in two, so that makes sense. And this one came out in '94, so I wish it would have came out the same year, because then we could have had like the dueling homeless people being hunted movie.
Homeless veteran.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think so. So the diner scene, that the opening action scene in the diner, yeah, it's nicely done, and it's there to kind of establish Chance as a character, and the fact, you know, the fact that he just very casually just sort of opens the door for her and makes sure she's seated and safe and reassures her before the fight begins, like these sort of smaller moments, and then he picks up her purse for her and kind of saunters away. That stuff is great. So it's really nicely done, but it is the action scene that to me feels the most familiar. Like we've seen Van Damme tear up diners before. You know, someone's going to go through a window at some
yes,
point.
yes,
He does the signature elbow
yeah,
break over the shoulder,
yeah. He breaks an arm.
breaks the arm. He does that, and so there's nothing in there that
Wow, yeah.
felt out of place for me. For me,
I like the kick, the low kick on the high spin kick.
yeah. No,
That's a good move,
it's all really well done. It's all really
but it's
well done.
familiar.
It's familiar. He's done stuff like this before. The When this movie kicks in, so to speak, when the movie starts becoming Hard Target specific as opposed to a generic Van Damme movie, for better or worse, for me is when they're being shot at and Casey Lemons takes it in the gut and
Ugh,
there's all these like motorcycle bad guys and he leaps over the hood of a car to kick the motorcyclist in the head.
broken foot.
That's when this movie turns into something different. and the action beats like the motorcycle stunt and the Mardi Gras graveyard. That's when this movie starts to do things that are hard target specific, in my opinion.
Yeah, it ditches any ounce of social commentary, and it
Yeah,
just
it's a different
features
movie.
floats exploding and a lot of flips, too many flips. But it does feature maybe one of my favorite wide shots of the film. There's these bald henchmen who work for, they're one of the dogs who work for Lance Henriksen and Arnold Vosloo, and they beat up JCVD at this house, and they put this thing on him, and they're quite effective. They
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
get the drop on him and take care of him pretty good.
Yeah, he loses that fight.
And like, I don't know who they are. They're not exactly bald. They just don't have hair on the top. They still have some hair. Like they still have some. I can't explain their haircuts, but they look like twins. But he comes up on Yancy Butler, who has just gotten a gun, and of course it's the '90s. Actually, nowadays, like, so he calls her a bitch. But there's this wide shot where she just pulls the gun out and shoots him 4 or 5 times, and then he just falls over dead. It's a very John Woo, interesting, non-cut wide shot that I enjoyed. It's not frantic. It's not. It's quite ugly actually. And then Wilford Brimley comes out and was like, hey now, give me that back now,
Yeah, yeah.
Gumbo. But he takes the gun from her. That's a good shot in there. But
I
yeah,
agree. Is it just me, or between that shot and in a few other occasions with Van Damme, is it just me, or are there a lot of people getting shot in the dick?
he never headshots people. He just goes straight for their guts and dick. There's a lot of dick shots in
Well,
this.
they look like they're positioned to be gut shots, but they're just like the guns are pointed a little bit lower. Lots of pistols being fired just a hair below the belt, including that Yancy Butler moment.
Yes, there's several
Not
dick
just me,
shots.
right?
No, no,
Yeah.
it's not just you. I kept wondering that. I was like, he keeps shooting people. I mean, I guess it's better for squibs. Yeah, a lot of low blows, a lot of low blow bullets in this movie. But it rules. This movie's 100 minutes, not even, and I don't know.
Although I do have a question for you, and so this is the credit a friend of mine, Rachel, posed this question to me, which is if you took all of the slow-mo in the film and adjusted everything to a normal frame rate, how much time would you shave off the runtime of this movie?
Okay, so it's 96 minutes, and we're
Uh,
taking all of the slow motion out.
Every bit of slow-mo, you adjusted it to a normal frame rate. I feel like this would be a 25-minute movie.
Okay, so how many slow mo shots do you think there are?
Conservatively, 20,000.
Okay, so 20,000. And these slow mo shots turn what, 1 second into 5 seconds?
Whatever it is, you'd have to
So there's 20,000. Yeah,
I,
so
I I issue you this challenge,
this movie
Mark
be three
Meyer.
minutes.
Yeah.
But it's not okay. I hate hating on this guy because I do think he's on a tour and he's found his own way in Hollywood. But Zack Snyder, when I watch his slow mo, especially with the Rebel Moon movies, there's no point. There's no point. 300 was slow motion because it was trying to recapture panels of a comic book that he wanted to show off Frank Miller's work. John Woo in his slow motion, I feel like they add to the aesthetic, and they are part of the overall experience, and they showcase bodies in motion, and they
Right,
showcase.
because he's doing ballet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think when people talk about slow mo, there's a lot. I don't mind slow motion when there's a reason for it, or when it's warranted, or the entire film has 20,000 slow motion shots. So I know it's funny to think about, and it would be a 2 minute movie, but they all work. Like I don't think there's ever a slow motion moment when I just felt like it was egregious. I think that's just part of his aesthetic, and I like that about it. So yeah, that's my thought about the slow motion in it. Because I have a okay, this is a really random question for you. At the end, when they're in the Mardi Gras float graveyard, and he's doing flips everywhere. If it was in normal time, would it be as impressive, or would it just
I
look
don't know.
silly?
I feel like this is another one of these questions in which you have to wonder where a director's vision or a director's intention butts up against just the practical needs of the shoot, because you have, and this is a problem I encounter teaching film studies. We have curriculums that basically are so auteur focused, and you think, okay, well, if the light was shining through and cut across the scene in this particular way, what was the director trying to signify? What's the symbolism of that ray of light? It's like maybe they were just like running out of light and they had to get the shot real quick. These sort of production realities
It
that
looks
are,
cool.
yeah, these are conversations that you kind of have to be aware of if you're thinking about filmmaking as just something that it doesn't have to be symbolic, but it does have to get done. Like you have to get the shot, and then, for people to kind of generate meaning around it afterwards seems questionable to me. And so this issue of would this have played differently in slow motion or whatnot? It's partly John Woo does have an aesthetic, but there's also this sort of style of filmmaking that you see a lot in the 90s, which is like, we're going to blow up this facility and we can only do it once. So let's capture it with 6 or 7 cameras. And so you have all of this footage and you want to use it, right? Which is why you just have the same action being shown from, 4 different angles. Uh, Perhaps unnecessarily, but it's there to just basically, we spent the money, so let's show it. And I feel like that is a consideration, is a pragmatic, practical, money saving thing. It's insurance on a film set to make sure that the footage isn't lost. That then ends up getting converted into an aesthetic style because the purpose of showcasing how much money you put into a house explosion ends up manifesting as, let's show this from multiple angles, let's slow it down so we can like really get a sense of like how much danger this actor is in with the fireball behind him. And as a result, those sort of practical considerations of showcasing the money you've spent gets converted through some bizarre alchemy into aesthetic, right? Into a style, into the kind of signature of a director. So like there's an interplay there, I think, between just like pragmatic production considerations and the spectacle around explosions.
No, that's a great point. Listen, we filmed it. We're shooting it. We blew up this school.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
give all the angles of it. I mean, look at Ong Bak. They like Tony Jaa's doing things and they're showing it from 4 different angles. Just
Yeah, they completely break any sense of like continuity, right? They say,
yes,
no,
yes.
let's like, we just saw that, now let's see it again. And you know what? How
Guys,
about a third time?
guys,
Yeah.
guys, watch this. Like that's incredible. I guess if you got it, show it. And that's a great point too. I mean, but I think you have to go into this movie knowing there's going to be a lot of that slow motion. But I think that
Right.
adds to the melodrama too. Like you watch a Paul Greengrass movie, there's no slow motion because he
Right.
wants that to
He wants
be
that immersion. Yeah.
yeah. And
He
then
wants you to feel like you're there. No, I guess I'm not saying that these two things are necessarily at odds with each other, but I do think these are two separate tracks. One is a sort of spectacle, like presentation, which is like, hey, we did this incredible stunt or this incredible explosion. We want you to see it in all of its glory, combined with or resting in some kind of harmony with John Woo's inclination, which is to, no, I want to slow things down because that heightens the emotions and the melodrama of it all. And those two things seem to be ostensibly working in tandem, but that doesn't mean that they're completely harmonious impulses, right? These are two completely separate sets of priorities that are, for the moment, working toward one result, which is you end up getting an action scene that is both doing the work of showcasing the spectacle of the stunts and the action, but also doing it in a way that is meant to be really heightened and melodramatic.
there's only one stunt in this like gag in this movie that I am not a fan of. And before I complain about this, I want everyone to know that I'm not a professional killer who is so good with a gun that he only needs one bullet at a time. But there's a scene where
How many do you need normally?
1,000. Give me the gun from. I am so unskilled with weapons that just give me. Okay, I need to work
You're
out.
just you're just Jesse Ventura from
Yes,
Predator.
exactly. I was about to say, give me the gun from Predator. Make sure I know how to use it, and just stand back. Like I won't fall backwards and blow the roof out from over us and have it fall on us. Like I can shoot this thing. Just make sure I can shoot it. But there's a scene where JCVD in the newest Karate Kid movie, this guy has this spin move and like the person waits for it, and as soon as they land they strike, and so he has to learn how to get underneath the strike to
Mhm.
avoid that move. And it's a big important part of the film is learning how to get underneath this guy's counter. But there's a scene in Hard Target where maybe because it's in slow motion, but Van Damme does a gigantic flip in the air, and if it was in real time, it would not. He just kind of stands and does it. And if I'm a villain who is so good that I only need one bullet, I'm just gonna wait for him to land. I'm not gonna shoot him in the air because you kind of have a general idea of where his feet will plant. If that makes like if you're running,
Right.
you got to gauge it. But
Like
kind
his
of like
his radius is not going to be infinite, right? It's pretty clear. Like,
yeah,
okay, you're going to land in or about in this area. Which flip are you referring to? What's the scene?
there's a wide shot, and this isn't the flip where he jumps over the exploding barrels. It's kind of a wide shot where he's going left to right on the screen, but it's so high So it's not even like a tuck and roll where you're kind of like, I don't, man, he's getting low, he's getting high. He just jumps in the air, maybe 4 or 5 feet. It's very exaggerated. And then he's just in the air for a long time. And so you're just kind of, I don't know, if you've been in this for 40 years and you see this person do a gigantic flip in front of you, like if someone jumps on straight up in the air on a trampoline, you're not going to try to shoot them when they're in the air. You're just going to point down and wait for them to land. And so I just, that's the one thing where I thought he's not being a very hard target. And I once figured out how many bullets missed him, and I figured out how hard of a target he is, but I lost that data and I couldn't find it. But I'm like, that's when I think he's probably the easiest target at that moment in hard target. I don't know if you remember it. I maybe should have sent it to you. And I would miss, but I think Henriksen's character, if he's that good, he would have plugged him. That's all I'm saying.
If you're a trained mercenary, you should be doing better.
Yeah. If I'm not an oxen or a moose, no, what does he call him? You're a water buffalo.
You're a water buffalo.
He also tells somebody in this movie, there's a line of dialogue. He's like, I'll fuck you, then I'll eat you. Lance Henriksen was dropping some bombs in this movie.
Yeah, the you're a water buffalo is really this movie's what's the line from Drive? You're a jelly full of pudding, which is just this kind of errant insult that is kind of a head scratcher. Was it improvised, you know?
I miss 90s insults, Professor Mike Dillon, because like I could call you a dingus or a blood fart. These are lines from faculty. And you're like, yes, I just got insulted, but they're so ambiguous and nebulous that they're not going to hurt my feelings. It's just you're more expressing your displeasure with people. Like there's some very specific insults you could drop on somebody, but if you go, hey, scud rocket, or booger face, or just hey, booger lips, just something stupid like that. That's all Ernest Scared Stupid.
What
squid lips.
Is Boondock Saints still 90s? Is it 99? Or is that into 2000?
What do they say in that one?
Well, there's a character who calls someone an insignificant.
Ooh,
which I really like.
That's a post Tarantino one right there for sure. I don't know. Anytime you get the word insignificant in there, that kind of cuts home for a lot of people. But that's a good master. I would rather call him like, hey, you. I don't know.
There is a line in Fight
face.
Club. Fight Club, the novel, has a line that didn't make it into the movie, but it makes me laugh every time. I'm not sure why it's so funny to me, but Marla, who was eventually played by Helena Bonham Carter, she has a line in the book where she says something like, she's complaining about her landlady and says, don't talk to her. She's a real bitch monster.
Yes, because that's not
just so funny.
If you called someone like a monster bitch, you're a monster bitch. That's mean. But if you go, wait, bitch, a monster bitch,
you're monster, a monster bitch monster.
You're such a monster bitch monster. Like what? That's perfect. Yeah. So I miss the days of insults that you can aim towards people that won't wreck friendships or start a fight in a bar. Like if you call a dude a booger lips in a bar, he's not going to get so offended that he punches you. Or maybe they're looking. Maybe they had a booger on their lip.
Yeah. Although the great insults of the 90s also, they're not phrases, they're entire sense. So like Taj from why would I listen to you? You're a virgin who can't drive from Clueless. Or in Home Alone, isn't there a little sister who says something like, you're what the French call les incompetents. These are very quotable, right? They're not like targeted insults, but they're just kind of mean things to say to people.
Yeah, that's it. So there's either very nebulous insults or just full sentences that can be used as an insult. Oh, I like that. That's very heightened though. That wasn't me in the 90s. I was very much so eat my shorts kind of guy.
You shut up. Yeah.
Be quiet. But
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's a little indelicate. I don't mean it to be, but have you always noticed, Jean-Claude Van Damme has that like bulge on his forehead. He's got, it's like a calcium deposit cluster or something or other. Logan Marshall Green has the same thing. Watching all of these films, I grew up watching JCVD, but I swear to God, I never noticed until like at least the 2000s, maybe when the movie JCVD was out and he was doing interviews about it. But now I see it everywhere. We did Street Fighter together. I'm just constantly looking at that thing on his forehead, and I'm just really puzzled as to how it just never occurred to me until way later.
I didn't think about it. So watching it this time around, it's very prevalent. Maybe it's because of the hair and all the close-ups, and just it's most prevalent in this movie. I don't think I've ever noticed it in another film. So I'm running through a Rolodex in my head when I could possibly see this. He hit his head on a rock and it formed a cyst, but I can't think of a movie where I see it other than Hard Target because it's the camera's just so in his face. I wonder if the other films go a little medium shots or wide shots.
Well, given how prominent it is, it's not something I recall ever
No,
wondering
never,
about
never.
watching it in the 90s, and now I'm more attuned to it. But yeah, it's a cyst. I mean, he looks phenomenal in this movie. I don't
Yeah.
know so much about that mullet or like that weird single earring on his left ear, but there's choices being made, but he looks absolutely fantastic. And of course, the money shot when he takes off his shirt and he's got the biceps, that's all terrific. It's absolute eye candy. But yeah, I don't know enough about like the cyst that forms, and I wonder, if Van Damme must have been under pressure to undergo like a cosmetic procedure to get rid of it. Hollywood after all, and the fact that no, so I have no medical knowledge whatsoever about what that is or what it involves to remove something like that. But the fact that he never did and presumably elected not to, I feel like kind of send him a little bit of respect, not going under the knife just because people were pressuring him to. But of
There's
course, I don't know if that's the case. But if so, I would reserve some respect for it.
there's a lot on here about him, but he says that he didn't want to take it off. He said it's a cyst. He said it makes him look tough.
Okay, if you insist.
Wait, that's weird. But they said that these Hollywood stars have serious flaws in their bodies. That's one of the articles about John Cloud. They're talking about the cyst on his head.
No, it's not that. That's why I opened this by saying I don't want to be indelicate.
Yeah.
It's not a
No,
flaw.
it looks
You
awesome.
look fantastic. I'm just curious about. It seems like the kind of thing that the superficial culture of Hollywood would have pressured him to try to remove, assuming that there is a procedure that could have done so. I have no idea because I wouldn't be able to afford something like that. But because as I've learned, poor people get bored too, but it doesn't mean I can undergo the knife.
So they got but I mean, you said he looks great in this film, but I think that's what John Woo is great at. When you think about Mission Impossible 2, that's just glory shotting.
It's
Even
a it's a shampoo
yeah,
commercial.
and
Mission
Tandaway
Impossible
Newton
2.
looks incredible in it as
Yeah.
well. Like so, he just and I mean, Face Off with John Travolta and Nick Cage and Gina Gershon. Like I think even Joan Allen. Like he
Joan
just
Allen.
knows how to shoot people and he knows how to make them look good. So yeah, I think this movie when his shirt comes off and he starts hitting people in the head with grenades that's tied into his shirt. I like that his shirt comes off for a reason. He takes it off, puts a grenade in it, and then he bonks a guy in the head.
Mhm.
But no, he looks incredible. I mean, I love the ending too. This is like an odd ending for Lance Henriksen because he's so capable. He actually takes a grenade apart, but then it sparks, and then he legitimately says, "Oops," and then he blows up. How much do you love that kill? How much do you love that death
I
for a villain?
I guess, well, I mean, they're making a conscious choice to lean into like a teeny bit of slapstick there, which I'm not sure is tonally consistent with the film. I mean, the movie's absolutely goofy, and I think it knows it is, but this does spill over into comedy a bit. And in particular, so I guess that's not a problem, except that the Arnold Vosloo kill is so much more satisfying
Oh yeah,
that the Lance Henriksen one, because Lance Henriksen is the final boss and Arnold Vosloo's the mini boss. I feel like those two, the kind of the cool factor of those two kills maybe ought to be inverted.
because they have an awesome gun. I mean that's the John Woo classic: two guys back to back, and then they shoot guns at each other while walking towards the
Yeah.
camera.
You asked me, my favorite moments, and one of the smaller favorite moments I have is the coat swipe and that early scene that you mentioned is great. But when he and Vosloo are at opposite sides of the wall and they're reloading their pistols, yeah, we've seen this in John Woo movies, but there's a close-up of Van Damme's hands as he's flipping the guns around. And it's obviously just really excessive movement if you just need to reload a pistol. He's almost like doing Wing Chun. But do you know the shot I mean, where
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of
It's gorgeous, well shot
flippity
moment.
flip, flip, flip? Yeah, I love that. It's just I'm not quite sure what it is he's doing with his hands because the camera's in too tight, but there's just something really, again, balletic and interesting about it. I like that scene a lot. I think there's maybe a couple seconds too much of just like errant gunfire because like, is anybody hitting anything?
No, and a dude comes up with a
There's
random grenade as well.
yeah, there's just a little too much going on for there to be that little impact. But when he slides under and takes out Vosloo, but then holds him in place with his leg to keep him from falling over, and they kind of have that final stare down as Vosloo draws his last breath, like that's great.
Yeah.
It's so great and inventive and cool and rooted in character and rivalry and these two guys who are squared off, but one of them finally got the better of the other guy, but they have to, but you got the better of me. I'm dying now, but I'm just gonna have to, I'm gonna stare you down and take it. Like there's something great and intense about that, which just isn't quite replicated or topped in any way with Lance Henriksen, and that's my one critique there.
And he takes a grenade from Vosloo that proves to be the undoing of Henriksen when he puts it in his
Hmm.
pants. Yeah, do
So
you know
it's all
what's
dick shots, I'm telling you.
so many dick shots? And one thing I do like about movies that we watch a lot of movies, and I think it's always fun when we see an actor who just pops, a supporting actor just pop on the screen. You brought up Brittany Murphy earlier, but I think that's what who Vosloo is here. Like there's something thrilling about a cool side character who really sticks out, and I think
Mhm.
cinema loves that as well. Like you watch a movie and you're just, does that make sense when you
Yeah.
and I think that that's who Vosloo is. And there's almost like a feeling of discovery when you see this person pop on the screen, and I really dug that about Vosloo in this movie. And there's many more actors. Like I thought Howie Long was good in Broken Arrow too with John Woo. I liked Howie Long in that movie. But yeah, there's always, I don't know. I always like when there's a cool. There's actually
A
a lot
cool
of those.
henchman, right? Like a lead henchman.
What Cassavetes in Face Off? Remember him? It's Cassavetes, right? One of the
Yeah,
Cassavetes, the
yeah,
bald
and
guy.
the yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
the
yeah,
when they're in the drug den. Yeah.
I remember liking him. Like I think in John Woo movies, there's always a pretty cool deep bench of actors that kind of pop, and I dig that about a. No, I can't think about Paycheck. I don't think there's any in that, but
Well, he's arguably given more memorable lines, right? Lance Henriksen, does he have any really great lines? Like the water buffalo one's kind of weird. That's what makes
yeah,
it memorable. I do like the load me, but I don't think any of those are as memorable or as shot in as memorable a way as when Arnold Vosloo has the scissors and goes like, if I have to come back here, I'm going to cut me a steak.
yeah.
Or even the like, you wouldn't want to hurt my feelings,
Oh,
right? That's a oft repeated line. I think Arnold Vosloo is kind of the MVP of this movie.
yeah. Randall,
Randall, Randall.
Boudreaux. Like that's, and I love that a director let him do that. Like they discovered him on Broadway, and so they found him, loved him, they put him in this movie, and he would later, Sam Raimi produced it, and he later appeared in the Darkman films. But I don't know, I just dig that they let him be. Like, I think even on set, John Woo must have realized like this guy's bringing it. And JCV didn't like that. He did a JCVD cut where he cut a lot of their stuff out because I think they did fall in love. John Woo said that he fell in love with the dynamic of those two guys. And JCVD locked himself in a editing bay for 2 days, made his own cut, and then that didn't work. But then the studio ended up cutting it. But the JCVD cut didn't make the cut. A producer cut made the cut. That's a lot of words
Yeah,
I'm saying there.
there's a chemistry between Vosloo and Van Damme in the
Yeah.
film that I don't think needed expanding because I don't think the story would justify it, but it comes to the detriment of Lance Henriksen. Lance Henriksen is so good in this, like the lines on his
Yeah.
face. He's a terrific actor, character actor, on top of which he's doing great villain work here. And so it's nothing to take nothing away from Lance Henriksen, but the dynamic that JCVD has with Arnold Vosloo just isn't there with the Henriksen character, and it comes up just at millimeters to the film's deficit at the end when one gets a better death than the other one.
Well, and also too, Lance Henriksen is not a physically imposing final villain. Like he takes a piece of wood that's on fire and starts hitting JCVD with it, and it like JCVD just grabs it and kicks the crap out of him and then stuffs a grenade in his.
Right.
He kicks Henriksen what feels like 30 feet. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's like he goes flying. So it's not a he's not a physically imposing guy, and then and he's killed with almost like a gag where he says "oops." So yeah,
Yeah.
I think they realized that he wasn't that guy, so then they just had to show JC like something funny. And because Vosloo he's the mini boss, but he's also the big boss. He's probably the physically imposing guy. They had to do something
It's
with it.
also yeah, it's also Vosloo loses in a fair fight, right? They square off
Yeah,
against each other. They're equals, and Van Damme just gets the better of him. Lance Henriksen ends on, like you say, a gag, but also just a stupid decision on his part, right? Because obviously, you fish the grenade out of your pants. The first thing you're going to do is not let me dismantle it in time. It's you're going to chuck it far away from yourself, right? And so it's entirely played for laughs, and is that the demise that this otherwise really snarling villain deserves? you could question that. But the Vosloo death feels a bit more earned, right? It was a result of Jean-Claude Van Damme really getting the best of him, as opposed to Lance Henriksen, which is like, yeah, he got the best of you, but then you screwed it up at the end. I mean,
Boudreaux, Boudreaux.
that's partly why it's less satisfying.
Before we get out of here, I just want to, can you rank these villains for me from 1993 movies?
Okay,
I'm going to give you
hit me.
some. So we'll do Simon Phoenix
Okay.
from Demolition Man. We'll do, I have all the names up here. I wrote them all down. We have John Lithgow as Eric Quaylen from Cliffhanger. And then we have, let's see, Lance Henriksen as Emile Fouchon. And then I have one more for you from a 93 film from
Is it Bison?
Judgment Night with Dennis O'Leary or Dennis Leary as
Dennis
Fallon.
Leary.
Yeah. Dennis O'Leary? No, Dennis Leary. How would you rank these guys?
Uh, I think they're all comparably sociopathic and evil. Wouldn't trust any of them to babysit my kids. But so all things being equal in that regard, I would rank them more in terms of what I assume their proximity to power is. You know, so how much sway do you have over government? What is your capacity to bribe people? And so, like John Lithgow seems to be someone with like deep kind of connections
Very deep.
that he could mobilize. So you're not just being threatened by him and his psychopathy, but you're also being threatened by the full force of whatever resources he can command to send people after you. That's a bit scary, as opposed to Simon Phoenix, who is a rogue operator, right? Like he's super dangerous. Steer clear of him, but if you stop him, you stop the menace. Whereas Fouchon or someone like that, you can stop him, but he's clearly part of a larger network of
Mm-hmm.
malfeasance that's going like a transnational criminal organization, and he's just a figurehead of it. That to me probably skews the list a little bit. So I would rank Simon Phoenix like low because he's dangerous, but he's not systemically dangerous, right? He's not representative of larger evils in our society. He's just like one guy.
Whoa. All right. And Fallon's just Dennis Leary.
Penn is just Dennis Leary. Yeah, I mean that's just one. It's just stay out of that neighborhood, right? So, right.
Yes.
Also, yeah, there's also, and yeah, in no way am I suggesting that he's blameless for his actions, but he is also a product of his environment,
Yeah.
right? This is he's a criminal who is a product of the sort of low socioeconomic opportunities of the inner city, right? Insofar as that movie has kind of a class commentary going on. So that's not to say he's blameless, but he's also a bit small fry in the larger scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't
You're
bothering
gonna,
anybody.
yeah,
Like the only reason he's trying to kill them is because they saw it. And so he's just
yeah. No,
reacting to it.
he's a straight up villain, but he's also you want to avoid Dennis Leary, you got to survive the night. But you want to avoid like a Quaylen, is that his name?
Oh yeah, you don't
Uh,
mess with him with his
no,
accent.
you don't want to mess with him. You know, there's nowhere you can run that's gonna where he can't follow you if you upset him enough,
Whoa.
right? If he's out to get you, like Dennis Leary is not going to track you across the country.
Man,
Like
he's not
once
going
you're
to
out of, well,
Kentucky.
yeah, no, it's a territorial thing with him, right? Once you're out of his turf, he's not going to view you as a threat. Whereas Fouchon like has the resources to hunt you down. In fact, that's kind of what he does. So he might actually enjoy the exercise of pursuing vengeance, right? Because he's bored out of his mind.
I like it. And people would pay to go find you and get some millionaires. I dig it. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's my ranking.
That's a much better one than I would have delivered. So I like Eric Quaylen because at the end of Cliffhanger, he's fighting Sylvester Stallone on the side of a mountain on the upside down helicopter, and he's just delivering body blows. Because if they had to be careful because if you put the two of them together, Lithgow dwarfs Stallone, so they had to do like a crouching fight on a helicopter to get their heights more
Yeah,
level.
I imagine. Yeah,
So
that's funny.
but if you ever watch the final fight in Cliffhanger, watch the body blows that get delivered on Stallone, then watch his reactions. They're very funny. So I'm just putting that out
I
there.
think yeah, I can kind of picture it. I think I know what you're
He goes,
talking about.
like it's great.
Yeah, I
Uh,
would say though that so you're ranking these villains in terms of their villainy, frankly, or who's the most dangerous or most imposing. But I would also flip it on you and say, who would you most want to have cocktails with?
oh
You know,
man,
because what
Lance. But Wesley, he would
I
would
don't. I mean, would I have to sit through his like gratuitous piano recital? Be like, oh my God, he's like
yeah.
pulling out the piano again. I got to pretend to listen to this. But because I mentioned, you know, Bison from Street Fighter, by the metric I gave you in terms of reach of power, resources, megalomania, and ability to like hunt you down out of grievance, like yeah, I think Bison ranks the highest. But inversely, he also ranks highest in terms of like cocktail party.
And he'll make you drinks with this
He'll
drink
make you
start.
drinks. A drink in Bison's pad? Absolutely.
No, that's a good point. I don't want to listen to a piano recital.
No. So like
Lithgow, I don't want to talk to him. He just
Judgment
seems.
Night would rank lowest. I'm like, there's no way this guy throws fun parties.
Go to Irish
Uh,
pub though and listen to House of Pain and jump around and drink some Guinness.
maybe, but that's not really my scene. I feel like I just like, is this, am I safe here? Like how late are the
Yeah.
buses running in this neighborhood? Because I got to get my way
So
home.
assuming that we can
Um,
live, I'm taking Bison.
oh, Bison ranks top, but I also want to give, so like Simon Phoenix is a psychopath, but you know he throws a party,
Oh yeah.
right?
If you know you're not dead and you could have a drink with him, it'd be a good night. You would get your car towed and it would end badly, but
Hmm.
I had a friend
But
like that.
Bison from Street Fighter, that's not a party, that's a soiree.
Yeah. Cheese, crackers, robes,
Just people
cigars.
making it rain with Bison bucks.
Yeah. He's gonna make a good drink, but I wonder if it's Bison brand whiskey. You can't say no,
Oh, you can't say no, and you have to pretend you like it.
but you're gonna live.
Yeah.
No, he'd be. It's Raul Julia. Like I want to let me hang with him. I like
That
it.
that party would be populated by the most colorful characters too, I think.
I would hang out with Zangief and DJ and West
Yeah.
Study. That's a party. He would. He seems pretty. He doesn't seem like a bad boss. No one gets murdered working for him.
Wasn't there a line that we zeroed in on our Street Fighter pod where they talk about like benefits, or
Yeah,
you lose your benefits if you evacuate now or something like that?
yeah,
I
that's
have to go
true.
back, but yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
so you get benefits.
Shadaloo.
They take care of you. Shadaloo takes care of you,
Join Shadaloo, see the world.
and that's how I became a henchman. Everybody. All right. Well, final thoughts about Hard Target before we get out of here.
Just we didn't talk that much about Casey Lemons, and that's more reflective of how thankless her role is in the movie. But just a quick shout out to Eve's Bayou.
Yeah,
It's
she
a great
still
movie.
pops on the screen. I like her cake that has smoke to it,
Hmm.
but I think her character definitely got cut out of this. If this
It
movie's 30
seems
minutes
like it, yeah.
longer, if why even introduce her if you're just gonna have her do this role? And Wu clearly has an affinity for her. Like he shoots her really well alongside everybody else. Yeah, why
Well,
bring
again,
her
yeah,
in?
she's a remnant of the first half of this movie, in a movie that the first half and the second half are not fighting with each other, but it takes a turn and doesn't go back to, right? Because the first half is more concerned with sort of the plight of veterans. It's more concerned with sort of there's a kind of a murder mystery aspect of it from her detective standpoint, which is there's something nefarious going on in our city, and the most powerful people in the city are corrupt and they're in on it, and I'm uncovering a conspiracy. That's her storyline, right? And it just gets completely dropped once it's really just about let's have Van Damme square off against these killers, and the rest of the movie is in that register. Once she's gone, we don't care about the social stuff whatsoever anymore, and it notably also leaves the city. It stops becoming an urban drama, urban crime thriller, once it becomes like a Van Damme actioner, and so this is where we leave her basically. But like, so it doesn't surprise me at all that there's more to that character.
He's by you. Direct that in 97, then didn't direct too much in between there. She had 2 minute movies between 97 and like
Yeah,
2013. But at least that movie, people love that movie. So I'm glad that's popular. It's a good shout. But hey, thank you so much for joining me, Professor Mike Dillon.
always,
This was
always.
we did it. What are we doing next?
I'm happy to do whatever, but I did float hackers your way
All
if
right, let's do hackers.
you have any
Hackers
interest. All
next.
right, I'm down. I
I gotta
mean, this
go.
has become both kind of a Van Damme and Lance Henriksen centric series for us after Street Fighter and then No Escape. So if there's anything with them in it that you want to add to the list down the line, I'd be happy to. But like whatever, I'm happy to hop on for whatever.
Hackers. You got to buy
We'll do
circular
hackers.
glasses though to record the episode.
We'll hack the planet.
And we got to record it while skateboarding.
Okay, that sounds dangerous.
Our
We'll do
first
it.
3 minute episode, followed by a lot of screaming. And
Oh man, if I did that, I would crash and burn.
I would be down immediately.
Nailed it.
I would record from just the floor, the pavement. So hey, thank you for joining me, Professor Mike Dillon.
Likewise.
All right. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, Professor Mike Dillon, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.